Welcome everyone to another Sunday Satsang. Before we start, I want to announce that this Satsang is the second last. So next Sunday will be our last gathering in this manner for this Sunday Satsang series. And whenever the future meetings happen, as they are planned or coming to fruition, I'll keep you posted through the social media channels and WhatsApp community as well. In the meantime, when satsangs are not happening in this way, I will be open for one-on-ones. So feel free to reach out for scheduling one if that's something that's called within you. You can reach out via any social media channel, or there is information on the website also. So in the description of the video, you'll find a link where you can click on, and there you'll find all the ways to contact. In this framework, suffering is defined as a deep-rooted uncomfortableness with oneself, which can then be projected onto the other as an uncomfortableness with the other, or with life, or with God. Another way to look at suffering which is very readily available to confront within ourselves, to identify within ourselves, is this incessant, tireless running away from discomfort, looking for distraction, looking for avoiding, looking for a fix, looking for someone to talk to, or somewhere to go to, or a new movie to watch, or eating, sleeping, drinking, whatever our way of soothing. We think we're soothing the discomfort. We're really numbing down the presence, the perception of the discomfort. So the presence, the discomfort itself is the suffering, but this need to not look at, or not having to bear, to tolerate, to live with this discomfort, is a more solid, more gross form of suffering that we can meet during many moments during our day. And there is nothing wrong with using this life or the activities of life as a distraction to that undercurrent of discomfort, because it is discomfort, it's uncomfortable, it's unbearable at times. But there may be a moment where it's not unbearable as it usually can get. And maybe, just maybe, we can hold on, we can delay the distraction for a minute or for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes. I'm going to go open the fridge, get a cake, because I don't want to deal with what's going on inside. Maybe I just wait 5 minutes before I fill my mouth with a delicious cake. It might be a possibility, especially that is the purpose of these concepts, really. Even if it hadn't happened yet, the very sharing of these concepts has the potential of updating our up-to-date conditioning in a way that maybe in a day or in a week or in a month or in a year, I might be opening the fridge without really knowing why. Like, I'm not even hungry and I'm grabbing something to eat just because I want to stop thinking about that rough conversation that I had with someone, or I want to stop feeling this anxiety that I'm feeling, and that's just my no-brainer go-to. And I might be opening the fridge and I'm like, oh, there it is, grab it. And the moment I grab it, it might occur in the mind, maybe as a thought, maybe as a memory. It's like, oh, let's see what happens when I don't eat the cake. And maybe I can bear that for a minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and maybe I excuse the cake for next unbearable bout of discomfort. So just catching ourselves, not not to punish ourselves. We're not catching ourselves in the sense that, oh, I caught myself, now I need to punish myself. But just catching ourselves habitually, ignorantly, innocently, taking the route of distracting ourselves from the suffering that is here, or to think our way out of it, or to identify with the discomfort and create a story out of it, or create a victim out of it, of how, because I am feeling this, I'm feeling it because of them, and they always do this, and why does it happen to me? So all these manifestations of not having to feel into, or not having to experience the very root that is this icky discomfort, can be caught as what they are: distractions. Distractions from what is. And there is no denying that suffering is. We're not gathered here to get some hope that, oh, it's all going to be okay, or it's all good news. Well, it is all okay in the sense that even this discomfort is okay if it can be allowed as okay, as it's okay for it to exist. It's okay for me to be suffering. There's nothing wrong with me that I'm suffering. There's nothing wrong with the other that I am suffering. There's nothing wrong with life that I'm suffering. There's nothing wrong with God, whatever that means. If the word God is projected meaning as the other, that is the doer of this all, because I'm told that I'm not the doer. So that kind of God sometimes is the culprit of our suffering. But what if it's okay to be suffering? Buddha said, as the first noble truth, that life is suffering. Why does it have to be a bad news? Why does it have to be resisted as the truth? What are the chances that for the first time in my life, I acknowledge wholeheartedly, without wishing it to go away, that I am suffering? It's very counterintuitive. It is almost like giving up. It's almost like, well, aren't we supposed to do something to get rid of suffering? Isn't that what the human life is all about? Well, the human birth, seemingly as it is sold as a concept, is about realizing who we are, is about understanding the nature of life, the nature of suffering, the nature of falling away of suffering. Yes, that is what the meaning of life seems to be. So it seems very counterintuitive that, like, if I really accept that I am suffering, then how will I ever get rid of suffering? Well, what if suffering is there because we, as the sufferers, are rejecting the very existence of suffering? We don't want to look at it. We don't want to do anything with it. We don't want to sit with it. We don't even want to acknowledge that, dude, you're here. And then the suffering suffers more. And we as sufferers can't really make sense of, well, what the hell do I do to not be suffering? Well, why don't we start with offering a peace treaty with the suffering? You know what? This body, mind, organism seems to be a rented house that I am supposedly living in. I'm here, you're here. Let's just coexist. And it sounds like a game, doesn't it? But might work. Might work means what? Might work at getting rid of suffering? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out if a peace can be made with the existence of suffering without really waiting on, okay, well, now I've made my peace. Now, when are you going to go? When are you going to die down? Well, that's not making peace. That's just manipulation. So, making peace with suffering can appear as the absence of wanting to know that why am I not feeling better? When will I ever feel better? Well, what if that's not a possibility? Until actually there is peace with the suffering that is here. What would that look like? Well, that exactly looks like that the running away towards distractions, towards avoiding mechanisms, towards finding crutches to avoid, to forget, to numb ourselves of the discomfort, the suffering that is here. All those compulsive movements start to become weaker. The interest in filling my mouth with cake when I'm feeling this emotional discomfort, or having a drink when I don't want to think about something, that even the interest in those things start to weaken. Gradually. And then in one moment, we might realize that it was only because of the need of running away from the discomfort was actually the fuel to the discomfort. And that is not a promise of, okay, if you do this, the discomfort will go away. No, because if we are doing it for that reason, well, that's exactly avoidance. That's exactly wanting to get rid of something which is there in the first place because of rejection, because of abandonment, because of the unwillingness to be with that sense of emptiness and void that actually is the doorway to heaven, but is taken on as void in a negative sense. Ramana Maharishi's teaching, the highest teaching, is silence. And silence doesn't mean that the thoughts are silent or the mind is silent or there's a verbal silence where I don't speak at all. That silence is the absence of interference to manipulate whatever is in this moment. If there is pain, there is pain. If there is pleasure, there is pleasure. If there is suffering, there is suffering. If there's no suffering, there's no suffering. In this moment, silence means whatever is appearing is okay, is allowed, not by me, because the me, is also what is appearing. And even that is allowed. And if this me is not happy with whatever is going on, well, that's suffering. And it's okay. That is suffering. Suffering is here. The absence of not okayness with the not okayness might very well be the beginning of the okayness, which is exactly peace of mind in daily living, which is exactly end of suffering. So can I stop analyzing my own performance as a seeker? How well am I doing? How long can I meditate? How long can I go without blaming or shaming or judging? All this overlooking that happens towards my own self or towards the other, towards life. Yesterday was so good and today's so bad, and I don't know when it's ever going to end. And it goes on and on and on. And that's okay. That's the paradox. One may find it quite liberating to finally accept that, you know what, I'm suffering and I don't know what to do about it. And what might happen is that within that surrender to the suffering, the very suffering itself might become the way out of the suffering. The suffering mechanism itself may start to open up in awareness once it's not fought as a problem or as the demon or as the devil. And within that narrative, the mechanism that opens up to us, the very antidote to that suffering mechanism might be recognized. It's really okay. And don't take my word for it. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. Just find out for yourself. Because it exists means it's okay, means it is God's will, means it has manifested in life as the very quality of experience that it is. And when the doer mechanism now may take this concept on that it's okay, that doesn't mean that we stop the very drive to understand, to go deeper, to dissect whatever might be appearing, because the doer mechanism is very good at owning the concepts and then using them as shutting itself in a way that either in the form of shame or in the form of, oh, don't go there. It's okay, so don't go there. And that's what happens when the words are taken as absolute. And there are no absolute concepts because they are concepts. They're just one way of pointing to that which cannot be put into concepts, that cannot be expressed or talked about or put into words. And the doer mechanism is very beautifully designed to use the very concepts that are intended to point towards that which is beyond concepts. It can use those concepts as the very obstacle towards postponing or hiding or veiling that. And that's okay too. That's just what seems to be in this moment. I want to give more space to any conversations. If there is anything that someone wants to talk about, any questions, feel free to raise your electronic hand and I can unmute you. And if not, then we can happily sit in silence and let's see what happens. Ranko.
Hi, Gurleen.
Hi, Ranko.
How are you?
I am well. Thank you. How are you?
Me too. Awesome. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, for me, main point here is like, can we really see that suffering is acceptable? because whole our life we are trained that suffering is not acceptable. And if we feel it, we have to do something with it, like blaming the other, which is supposed to be caused of the suffering. Or if we can't do that, then we will blame ourselves, feeling guilty or something. And if we somehow manage to escape it, then we will feel proud. So still we are running with that circle all over again. So the main question is how to accept that suffering is acceptable. Really.
The how. If there is one, if there is a how, can only be known after the fact of the acceptance having happened. And yes, you're absolutely accurate in mentioning that the society, the conditioning that we are all a part of, a product of, suffering is death. You don't talk about it. To not feel it. And I guess the beginning is this something like this, where we and sit together and allow the concept that suffering is okay because it's here. Might as well just acknowledge it, let alone accept it. Can we just say that, yeah, I'm suffering? And it's not a defeat. It's just what we are blessed with in this life, with all our shares of pleasures and pains and peace and suffering. What if it's just my share of experience in this life as Gurleen? That I am supposed to suffer for 10,000 hours in my life. If my life was, let's say, 25,000 hours, well, that's still a pretty good deal. That means 15,000 hours of peace. I'll take it. But what if it is coded like that? And these thought experiments really open up the rigidity towards that, well, I shouldn't suffer, suffering shouldn't be there. What kind of God creates suffering? All of this is the resentment that comes from not wanting suffering to be there in the first place. Well, do we ever feel that way for the peace? No. We don't question anything when there's peace. So why this bias for the suffering? What if we were as okay with the suffering as we are with the peace? And the how doesn't exist in my experience, really, because acceptance either is there or not there. And the how, and the how is really the suffering self, the separate self, wanting a technique to undermine itself. And you put it so beautifully that what it really comes down to is that how to accept that it's okay to accept suffering. And just being in the presence of these concepts. And if we are not triggered deep enough that we just can't take what is being said here, I think is already the beginning of acceptance. It's like I am not very familiar with the concepts of AA, but just enough that I'm going to paraphrase something here. So Alcoholics Anonymous, they have, I think, 12 principles. And the first one is that admit you're an alcoholic. Well, there you go. Just accept there's a problem. And I don't know how wholesome their whole process is. I'm not that much aware of it. But my point here is that can I just give up my armor, sit here, and finally see what am I going through in this moment? What is the stuff that is on my plate? Without any sugarcoating, without any exaggeration also. So if I'm suffering like 1%, I don't need to exaggerate it to 10%. Just being as neutral as possible to be available to see, well, what's in my plate? And then let's see what's edible, what's not edible, what needs to be thrown away. All of that comes after there is acceptance. But unless there is acceptance, all I can do is run away. Or it smells bad, but I don't want to look there. I just shut the door down, hoping that the smell will go away. But then it just rots and rots away and smells worse and worse. And then other people start telling me that, look at yourself, like, why do you snap so much? And I was like, no, don't talk about that. And then I close that door, like, you're not a good friend. You're not a good friend. And then I keep shutting the door until it is like, you know what? I can't live like this. It's a deadly smell that will kill me if I don't get rid of whatever is smelling. And then we start opening the doors, and then it can be very self-defeating in a way, but the self that feels defeated is the very separate psychological self, which is the root of suffering itself. So that self has to be defeated in that sense. That self has to feel that it doesn't have anything in control, because that is what one finds out. And as that revelation that, you know what, I don't have anything under control. I can't control how many breaths I've had. I can't control my heartbeat. I can't control my digestion. I can't control what other people think of me. I can't control whether there will be rain today or sunny today. I can't control anything at all, within or without. And the more that sinks in, not as a defeat, well, initially as a defeat, but more as a humbling recognition that, oh, I am not in control. So I might as well stop this compulsive drive to control myself, control the other, control life. It's futile. And that freeing up of that energy is the very acceptance towards the suffering. It's the same energy when it loosens here, is somehow showered as acceptance towards the existing discomfort, which then can now open up, because I'm not trying to control my experience. So like a warrior. And yeah, it's amazing that we are in a society that glorifies avoiding suffering, and glorifies, even if you pretend that you don't suffer, it still glorifies you. So I might as well pretend and feel glorified. Whether it's in the social media posts, the perfect vacations, the perfect relationships, however the glorification can come, I don't have to, if others are not projecting that I'm suffering, then maybe I'm not suffering. But I know what I know. I can't unknow what I know. So that's why I need to do another post within a day, because the knowing starts bubbling up. And the moment we can be comfortable with, you know what, I am suffering, no matter what anybody says or doesn't say, no matter what I pretend or don't pretend. And then just rolling with it, if it's tested.
It's like it's a whole process, like we're trying to put all the armors, all that we can, actually, until we have got nothing else to put in front of us. Then surrender happens somehow, by its own, not by us. That's
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. Even surrender is not in my control. That's the biggest one for the spiritual seeker, because the same controlling mechanism is now the seeker. And now it wants to control the surrender. I want to be surrendered all the time. Well, guess what? You're not in control.
Yeah, there is no you even. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So beautiful, so marvelous, this game
Yeah.
of peace and suffering, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Renko. Such a pleasure. If I'm not mistaken, your device is named Samsung, but you're her simmer, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Hi, Gurleen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So honestly, like I have not come here with an agenda like of my own, like to ask you any question, or because I guess it won't work. It's futile. I mean, for me, because if I ask and you answer, and then I find out like it's not worthwhile. So I just wanted to be in, be in touch with you, and just have a like conversation, and yeah, and nothing else.
Great. Sounds good to me.
Are you still in Chandigarh?
No, no, I'm not.
No, you're not. Okay. Uh, so you were like saying like like life, life involves pain, pleasure, and suffering, right? Like, and you have to be matlab, like you have to be okay with it to to have a to have a better vision towards life. But uh but like if you are like there is something like something like, that keeps on touching you about, pain and pleasure and pain and pleasure and pain and pleasure. And you feel that actually there is some part of you that is experiencing pleasure all the time, but actually that is the reason of your pain. Like a part of you that's only experiencing pleasure, and that is that's what's causing you pain. So that's something new for me. I just wanted to speak about it. I know that it's possible, yet you don't have anything to say about it. And yeah, yeah, that's it, I guess.
Is it something that always experiences pleasure, or is it something that always wants to experience pleasure?
It is a part of me is trying to experience pleasure and is experiencing pleasure, but it's non-stop. And that is the reason of your, like, in, like, six scriptures, it's written that, pleasure is a melody and pain is your medicine. When you go to like some holy place, like, Harmandir Sahib, like there is a board, it's written like your reason of your like the melodies in your life is because of your pleasures. And you know and the only medicine is pain. And people who are spiritual but says that religion is poison, like they say that the religious people, they treat suffering as a dessert. Like they say, like, suffering is the highest teaching. And I see you use the word suffering a lot of the time. So, like, I just wanted to, ask, like, is it true that, like people crave suffering? People ask for it, like I want suffering in my life, like to be at a, maybe to be at a better place.
I'm actually not sure what other people ask for, so I'm not going to answer for them. So I don't know if suffering is a
No, no,
desire.
just your point of view. Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Okay, that's what I'm giving now.
Oh, okay.
So suffering, if that's what seems like a path to a seeker on their journey,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it might be a um, desirable something to ask for from God or from Guru or whatnot. There are many paths that use purification practices, but purification practices in a way that imposes pain on the system more than that is a mechanism or a framework to detach the system from the attachment to pleasure. And to do that, to achieve that goal, if that's the goal of the practice, is to inflict enough pain, or maybe even to believe that pain is pleasure. So the attachment to pleasure can weaken and fall away. So there are many practices or paths like that. However, what I do want to point out here as you were talking, in this framework, pain and suffering are two different things. So pain is circumstantial. It can be physical, emotional, financial. Suffering is the attitude towards the pain or pleasure in life. So life can either be pleasure or pain. And what the outcome of something is, whether it is going to be pleasure or pain, is already what happens in life, because sometimes I think I'm doing something and this will bring me pleasure and it ends up bringing pain in life. And then sometimes I do something or I say something which I know definitely will be bringing pain in my life. And somehow the outcome turns out to be pleasurable. So pleasure and pain is what life is about, is what the flow of life seems to be. It's a mix, a combination, a soup of pleasure and pain. Suffering is at a layer deeper than pleasure and pain. Suffering is not in the same flow of pleasure and pain. Suffering is the attitude that I am also designed as, that also exists in the system as the attitude towards clinging towards pleasure. So it is a belief that my happiness, my completeness is to be found in pleasure, 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 which automatically implies that pain has to be resisted. Pain is an attack on who I am because pleasure is my completeness. So pain must be an attack, a depletion of who I am. And that belief in itself is the suffering mechanism, because peace and suffering are not to be found either in pleasure or in pain. And the concept that you mentioned, that pleasure is, I maybe know what phrase you're referring to in the Sikh religion, but it is written that pleasure is the problem and pain is the medicine. And what that really points to, in my understanding and experience, is that pain, the infliction of pain, when life brings us pain, the chances of questioning who I am or what is life all about, the holy self-inquiry that is said that the human birth is all about, the chances of questioning life, questioning myself, the purpose of life, all those beautiful questions are more probabilistic to appear in the occurrence of pain, in the occurrence of when we are left alone, when we are rejected by people, when we have a physical illness and cannot get out of the bed. So we are just stuck in the bed with ourselves. So pain has this blessing in disguise of opening up this whole new realm of questioning that what is this life really about? Is it about me, what I've been doing so far, making money, having so many followers, or having these many friends, or whatever I might be holding on to as me being successful in life or me being unsuccessful in life? And then the occurrence of pain beautifully shatters all of that, or at least has the potential of shattering all of that to open up the spiritual realm, which is the blessing of pain. It can also happen in the pleasure realm. So not to say that pleasure cannot open up the spiritual inquiry, the inquiry of what am I and what is this really about? When pleasures are achieved completely, like what I have been desiring for, I finally achieve it, it feels empty. It feels like, oh, it hasn't delivered what I really thought it will deliver. I'm still feeling empty and I still feel this void and I still feel incomplete. Even though people are worshiping me, or I have $10 million, or my parents are finally proud of me, whatever that narrative might be, I have achieved it and yet I feel empty. And that is the beauty of pleasure. The pleasure is achieved and it shows that, oh, my happiness is still not here. I'm still unhappy. So either I hook myself onto another pleasure. So I have $10 million, now I want $100 million. And now I go off the race to achieve the 100 million, and then I'm still unhappy. And then now it needs to be 500 million and then 1 billion and whatever. And it can either lead to that path, or if we are fortunate, it can finally appear that, oh, if I'm still unhappy with the life that I really thought is my dream life, then what I'm really looking for must be somewhere else. It must not be in the flow of life. It must not be in outcomes. It must not be in pleasures and pains. And that is when the real moving inward, turning inward can start. And that is the blessing of the flow of life that can, whether pleasure or pain, can open up a deeper introspection into what really matters. What is it that life is really about? What am I really looking for? And then on we go. So suffering is there. It's, in my experience, it's not desirable, because if it were desirable, it wouldn't be suffering. Then it would be pleasure. So the very undesirability of this discomfort is what it means. That's why it is labeled as discomfort. So, but if someone's path is so that they believe that more suffering means higher attainment, then yes, there can be a conceptual or an intellectual desirability for more suffering. However, that doesn't mean that a cut in my hand is not going to hurt. I may pretend, or I may believe that this is pleasure. I can label it as pleasure and not pain, but it's still painful. So, yeah.
So like can we conclude that comparison is also suffering?
Indeed, it is a form of suffering, either coming out of shame or jealousy. If I'm comparing myself to myself 10 years back and now or whatnot, it might be
Okay.
out of guilt or shame. And if it is happening with the other, then it might be out of jealousy or resentment or pride, maybe, which are all forms of suffering.
Sometimes the truth gets contradictory, sometimes it gets complementary, so you don't really know what it is,
What
right?
can be known is not the truth.
Yeah.
The truth cannot be known. And that's why in this realm, there is no truth.
So they
Only-
say that hukam keha na jaye, like, so that means like the or day the thing with the hukam, the command
The
that
cosmic
has been
law.
ordained,
Yeah, the cosmic law is how I label it.
cosmic law. So we can't really keha na jaye. We can't really speak about it.
It cannot be fathomed. It cannot be understood, because we can
You mean
only
it
feel.
cannot be comprehended?
Yep, it cannot. By a human mind, it cannot.
Mm.
Even Nanak, who wrote these words, couldn't
Yeah.
comprehend it. And that was his whole point.
Mm.
I'm going to leave you with that paradox. And I see there's another hand that is here. Shiv.
Hello, hi Gurleen.
Hi, Shiv.
It's a bit off topic from what you shared at the beginning of Satsang, but this talk about Sikhism just brought up some question I've been meaning to ask you for so long, but I just keep forgetting when it's Satsang time. So, and you've also been exploring Bhakti path. So, I was introduced to Bhakti path with this Guru Nanak's that saying, how can God be attained? And then he says, Soche soch na hoye, chuppe chup na. Anything, you can be silent, you can be think, none of that will work. And finally, all that will work is Hukum Rajai Chalna, which is, I'm not very good at Punjabi. I just know these few words and
No,
this one.
you're quite on point.
So that he says you have to follow the will of God, and that's the only way to attain God. But you keep talking about how everything is God's will.
Yeah.
So this and because that's how I was introduced to Bhakti Marg, that that to follow my own will and not follow God's will is sin. And so somewhere it hinges on that, somewhere where I've been coming to you for so long about bhakti differing from the framework you give, and it hinges on this idea that to do anything apart from God's will is the sin, but you say everything is God's will. And even
Yes.
Nanak says that there is a way that you must follow God's will. I just wanted to bring this up.
For sure, that is a very valid point, actually. And yes, it does sound contradictory to the concept, and yet it is exactly what Nanak is saying. The very reason that that Rogers and Ramesh's concept was accepted so deeply in my own system is because it was so on point with what Nanak has been saying, what Guru Nanak has been writing about and talking about, and how it had unfolded within my own system as what I experienced that those words meant. So this is the first paragraph of that first writing, right, in Guru Granth Sahib, where you very well said that the first stanza is talking about, he talks about all the practices, all the spiritual practices in 7 or 8 lines, that this won't work and this won't work, and going on a silent retreat won't work, and thinking your way to God won't work. Filling the void with pleasures and experiences won't work. So he like covers all the stuff that one can think about, even as a spiritual seeker, as someone who wants to get to God, or someone who wants end of suffering in another way, really what that means. So he said, then how can it be done? That's the second last line. And then he says, Hukam Rajai Chalna. Hukam meaning cosmic law. Rajai means under or surrendered. Chalna means to walk. Well, literally it means to walk, but basically to exist within the cosmic law. Nanak Likhya Nal. So Nanak being the author, Likhya means destined, Nal means as your destiny.
That's what it means. I thought it means so Nanak has written. Nanak
No.
Likhya Naal. No.
It
Oh, I've got this completely.
literally it might be translated like that, but
Ah.
in my understanding, Hukam Rajai Chalna, Nanak Likhya Nal. Likhya Nal. Nal means with me, on my destiny.
Oh,
So
forehead.
whatever the cosmic law has designed this body, mind, organism to be lived as, with its pains and pleasures and sufferings and peace, living under that, surrendered under that law, is how one attains God or attains peace of mind in daily living, according to this framework. And then in the next stanza, he himself writes, I don't know if you remember that stanza, and I'm so sorry for everyone who doesn't know Punjabi. I will try my best to translate the stanza that I'm going to recite now. And that is one of the most powerful stanzas for my whole process. So it says, हुक्मी होवन आकार हुक्म न कहिया जाई हुक्मी होवन जी हुक्म मिले वड्याई हुक्मी उत्तम नीच हुक्म लिख दुख सुख पाइय इकना हुक्मी बख्शीस इक हुक्मी सदा पवाइय हुक्मे अंदर सबको बाहर हुक्म ना कोय नानक हुक्मे जे बुझे ता हौमे कहे ना कोय. So this paragraph is really the end of all misery if it lands. So here he's talking about hukam, the cosmic law, and the ordainer. Hukmi means the great ordainer, maybe the out of which the cosmic law is operating. That is hukmi, the noun. And hukam is the manifestation, the existence, the cosmic law, the cosmic energy. They're not two, by the way, but it's just a way of Shiva and Shakti. They're not two. It's just a way of hukmi is Shiv and Shakti is the hukam. So the movement. So hukmi hovan ji, hukam na kahya jai. And basically what this paragraph really says is that out of the ordainer, out of the cosmic law, manifestation happens. The body mind sentience happens. The akar means the shapes happen, the gas and space, the five elements basically. Then he says hukmi uttam neech. Uttam means the virtuous of virtuous. Neech means the biggest sinner that can be possible, the devil itself. So it is of the cosmic law that the virtuous of virtuous and the sinnest, like the most highest level of devil is. Hukam lik dukh sukh paiye. Hukam lik means again the destined cosmic law that is designed as the flow of life of each one. Sukh means pleasure. Dukh means pain. Paiya means experience. That's how we experience our share of sukh and dukh, pleasure and pain, is under the cosmic law. Ikna hukmi baksis. Now, hukmi means God. Hukmi means the very source. So, ikna means one is blessed with the attainment of the source. Ik hukmi sada pawaiye, and someone else is endlessly just going around and around and around and around in search, never getting to know the ordainer. That is also the cosmic law. That is also predestined. Ik hukmi sada pawaiye, hukme andar sabko bahar hukam na koy. Everything that is, everything that isn't, everything that can be, everything that cannot be, everything that should, everything that shouldn't is under the cosmic law. There's nothing at all that is outside of cosmic law. Hukme andar sabko bahar hukam na koy. Nanak hukme je bujhe. So Nanak is saying, hukme je bujhe, whoever, within whomever this flowers, this recognition happens, ta home kahe na koy. Home means the separate psychological self, the suffering mechanism. Kahe na koy, it cannot exist. It cannot say anything. It just dies.
It's mind blowing. I didn't know about this at all. The second stanza immediately after. Wow.
Yes. And Guru Nanak was a genius. He was, and that's probably why he was labeled as a madman by so many. He was sent to jail and he was questioned by many people. But it is because of his clarity that he was able to impart the wisdom that is so beyond words, but he was able to do it so crisply and clearly, even in the form of words. So I see no contradiction within this framework and Guru Nanak's Bhakti Marg at all. They're just labeled differently, but it's the same framework. Just like Bhakti and Jnana Yoga, they look like different paths for different temperaments, but things are just labeled differently. In Jnana Marg, you may call consciousness. In Bhakti Marg, you may say master or beloved or God. It's the same. It's just our temperaments and intellects that require or resonate with different labels and not the other labels. But we actually look at the gist, the very essence of the path, it is the same. What is felt like love in Bhakti Marg is felt like clarity in Jnana Marg. And yes, they quality-wise, even they may feel different. So for a Bhakti temperament, clarity may feel different. Because for a Bhakti temperament, clarity will come with like overflowing gratitude, because it is all given by God, because that is what Bhakti temperament is. And for Jnana temperament, love will come as
being untouched.
yes, and love will come as what we may call in this framework as absence of hatred, as absence of the other being treated as separate from me. So, and it may not have that overflowing pleasure of love that it may feel like on a bhakti path, but basically they're both manifestations of love. One calls it something else and the other calls it something else, but really it's all about end of suffering or attainment of God or realization of the self. Call it whatever we may.
I'll read up more. I want to explore that second stanza and further ones also. You have some, would you suggest some good, I don't know Punjabi and like the interpretation you're giving from somewhere, if I can read or something. This is something very
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's quite beautiful. I agree. I'm really not sure about any particular reading, but there is this YouTube channel called Nanak Naam. It's run by a beautiful man known as Satpal Singh. And just search Nanak Naam on YouTube. And he has explained the first writing, which is called Japji Sahib, very in detail. He has like a separate video for each stanza and a separate video for each of the words in the very first chanting mantra. The mantra that is called. So he's very beautifully explained everything in detail, which is I think called the true something like that. Maybe just it will tell you. Yeah, so that book also has done a very good job of capturing the essence of what Nanak. I think you froze. Were you able to hear
Yeah,
me?
I missed a large part of what you just said. I just turn off my video. I'm sorry. I think it's my network. I'm in a different place. There's
Okay,
no Wi-Fi
sure,
here.
sure,
Can you
sure.
just repeat that? Sorry.
The last thing I was saying was Osho has written a book called, I think it's called The True Name, but if you ask ChatGPT, that he's written about Guru Nanak and Japji Sahib, I think he's done a pretty good job at also explaining the words that he wrote
My
pretty close
network
to
is still bad.
what
I'll
they
just
could
look at
have
the
meant in essence.
my network is still bad. I'll just look at the recording. This is very beautiful. Yes. Thank you. And it'll take me a while to really digest it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Shiv. Pleasure. It is beautiful that every path, when looked at the labels and the do's and don'ts and the shoulds and shouldn'ts in a particular path, they may all look very contradictory, and they probably are, because one likes to meditate for hours and hours and the other dismisses meditation at all, and one focuses on loving and worshiping and the other dismisses that completely as a facade. So yes, they are contradictory in that sense. What makes them one is the very essence of what they're designed to do. Why are they designed? Why are they even there in the first place? What's the goal? What are they really looking for? And in this framework, that essence boils down to this also. What am I really looking for? Am I looking for pleasure and no pain? Or am I looking for peace of mind in daily living? And how are they different? How are they the same? How do they overlap? And how can they be differentiated? What is suffering? What does suffering look like? Can I be with the suffering exactly as I can be with the peace? And what is this I that needs to be with, or things should be with, peace or suffering? All of that is just another way of worshiping God, surrendering to love, accepting the will of God as it is. They're not contradictory. They're exactly the same. Not as the concepts, because conceptually, what these words are saying is like, how are they same? Like, you're not even making any sense. Well, yes, that's true. But who said it's about making sense? They're all just concepts. The truth when these concepts are designed to dissolve our attachment to treating concepts as the absolute truths, our need to needing something to hold on to, okay, this is the truth. These concepts are truly designed to point right at that, and hopefully, if destined, for it to be dissolved. And when that happens, if that happens, what the truth is has been here all along. And yet cannot be put into words. That's what you are. That's what I am. That's what is undeniably, unknowingly, and yet always here, within which the very contradictions and the very oneness of essence, the interpretations, all happen and fall away. Nothing special. I love you all. Thank you for today. See you next Sunday for the last one, for now.